Alright guys, so we're back again for part 2. This is going to be setting up Windows Server. Just a reminder, with Windows Server you will need to get your own license. Maris does not supply the license, although you should be able to get a license through the Microsoft Imagine. So, just like last time, we have our vSphere IP address at 10.10.741, our gateway at 10.10.7.1, and our DNS at 10.12.1.11 and 10.12.1.12. Alright. So, we are going to start it up by opening vSphere. Load in. Alright, so now that we're in, we're going to again hit the drop down for PureFlex, the drop down for HC PureFlex, and then the drop down for capping until I find my folder. Some of you might be at this home page here, and then so to get to where I was, we're going to hit VMs and templates, and then you're going to have to go through that drop down list. So I'm going to hit on my folder, and I'm going to create my virtual machine. Go ahead and hit next, and I'm going to name this Windows Test. Go ahead and go through it. Click 10.10.730 for my host. It's going to be stored on the capping VM. And for this, we're going to hit Windows, and I'm going to hit 2012. Now, we have the option to do 2012 or 2016, and if you're going to do 2012 or 16, as you can see, 2012 is the only option here. Doesn't matter. We're going to just hit 2012, and I'm going to install 16 so you guys can see it. But they both have the option for 2012. So we're going to go hit next. We are going to continue through here because our network is fine, the adapter is fine. We're going to give ourselves 40 gigs, which is it's actually fine. And again, like I stressed in the last video, we want it thin provisioning. We don't want thick provisioning, thin. Going to hit next. And we want to edit the virtual machine before completion. So it's going to bring up another window. I'm not going to hit this, although you can, and the reason I'm not is I'm going to show you how you can get to it in case you forget. So we're going to hit finish, bring up our virtual machine right here. Drag this over. So my virtual machine is right here. I'm going to edit the settings for it. So 4 gigs of RAM, it comes default, that's fine. Do not have more than 4 gigs of RAM. I'm going to give myself 4 cores. And some of you guys have been asking what the difference between sockets and cores are. Think of it as sockets as a separate CPU, and cores are the actual cores in the CPU. So you want one CPU with 4 cores. You guys are not allowed to have multiple CPUs. So we're going to go ahead and get 4 cores. For Windows, you guys can have 4 cores. For Linux, it's going to be 2 cores. We're going to hit the CD drive. We're going to want to find the ISO. So we're going to hit there. Before we hit browse, we want to make sure we have connect on power on selected. So now we'll hit browse, we'll find our ISO. We're going to go to capping, ISO, and then we have 2 options here. we have Server 2016 Essentials, Server 20 or Server 2012 data center. So I want Server 2016. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and that's going to create my VM for me. I'm going to go ahead and power this up, and I'll go over to the console. Now, I'll be back when it's all booted up. Alright guys, so we're back here. As you can see, this is my splash screen. I'm going to go ahead and hit Next. Install now. It's going to run through this. And I'll speed this up for you guys. Alright, so now that it's done, I don't have a product key with me right now. As you guys know, you have to get your own. So I'm just going to hit I don't have a product key. If you guys have one, you can enter it. If it doesn't work, then just hit I don't have a product key. You can finish installing it and worry about it later. I'm going to go through all the settings here. It really doesn't matter if you hit upgrade or custom. I'm just going to go with custom and go through this. There's nothing on this disk space anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, I'm going to fast forward through this. Alright, so now we're all done installing. We'll go ahead and set it up. So our username by default is administrator. There's nothing we can do about that. I'll do a super secret password, which apparently doesn't meet the credentials. So, alright, now we're good. We'll Control delete into it. Right click here, go to guest, and then send Control Alt delete. Now we can type in our password, and it's going to load up Windows for us. Alright, now that we're in Windows, I'm going to right click, just make this a little easier for me. Go to Display Settings, Advanced Display Settings, and bring this down to 800 by 600. And that way I can actually see the whole screen. I'm going to exit out of there. This automatically comes up, just configure the server. I'm not going to do that, but you guys probably should. Yes, I'm going to cancel it. So now that I have that done, I am going to set up my network. Go to change adapter settings, right click, hit properties, hit Internet Protocol version 4, and we're going to hit properties on that. We want a static IP, so it's going to be 10, 10, 7, and you guys all should have that last octet handed out. For this, I'm going to do 200 again. It's going to be a 24-bit subnet mask, and our router is going to be 10.10.7.1. And like I said earlier, our DNS servers are going to be 10.12.1.11 and 10.12.1.12. We're going to hit OK. Close. Should identify the connection. And in a second I should see it here. While that is still identifying, I want to enable, for at least for Windows, enable remote desktop so I can see this more easily without going through vSphere. So we're going to go up here, search for remote, and I believe if we do show all, we want to allow remote access to this computer. Should bring this up. I want to hit allow remote connections to this computer. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to exit out. Now that that's working, my internet's working, so I'm going to quickly show you guys now on Windows 10. And don't mind my Mac bar coming up, but you can remote into it. I'm going to search remote. On here, I'm going to go 10, 10, 7, 200. I'm going to hit connect. It's going to ask me for a username, and I want to use a different one. So I'm going to go administrator. If I spelled that correctly. And we're going to go with the password. And hit yes. And now I am going through my actual Windows computer, and I have a full screen and everything. Much easier to use. So I can exit out, and now I'm back in my Windows environment. And I can see I still have the console here. So to delete this, we're going to go back to getting started, powering off. Once it's powered off, I can right click and hit delete from disk. And just like that, it is done. So that's it for Windows. My next will be Windows and Linux in the web client. So stick around for that. And thanks for watching.